6% is in fact used by the utility sector, another 5% by municipalities. The oil and gas sector uses about 6%, and then recreation is about another 14%. We're talking about stories today, and one of the stories I want to talk about is actually the story of water in the South. Because what we have here is in the South Saskatchewan River Basin, we account for 43% of the total population of this province. 74% of actually all the water that is used in the South Saskatchewan River Basin, but we only have 7% of the provincial flow. And that's the real challenge here, is the bulk of the population, most of the water use, but only 7% of the water flow actually is occurring here in southern Alberta. The South Saskatchewan region, 2.4 billion cubic meters of water is actually used every single year. 85% of that is used by agriculture. The good news is that the irrigation practices have been increasingly more water conservation focused, and there's some really fabulous work that's going on in the irrigation districts to conserve and use water better than they have. There's lots of work left to be done, but the irrigators are getting the message, and I think they're stepping up to the challenge of beginning to use water more effectively. One of the things that they really are beginning to do is decreases in inefficient irrigation practices, and I think some of the statistics are beginning to bear that out. Just to touch quickly on the lower Athabasca region, total use up there is about 0.124 billion cubic meters, and 88% of that is, of course, used by the petroleum industry. But that's a relatively small amount, 0.124, of actually all the water that's used here in the province. Where's our opportunity lie here in the South? I'd like to tell you that I think one of the biggest opportunities we have here is to look at options to increase our reservoir and storage capacity here in southern Alberta. And it just so happens that out in the mountains we have at least 11 major reservoirs and dams up in the Rocky Mountains, just west of Calgary here, that could be utilized to increase our water storage and capacity. And all it takes is a little more research and a little more dialogue among all of the stakeholders to see whether or not we can use those existing reservoirs more effectively than we are today to help manage water and distribute water throughout southern Alberta. So off-stream storage, on-stream storage, I think is a real opportunity for us here, and I think we need to have a real dialogue about what these options might be for us. Implications for our future development. Water shortages in the South could begin to threaten the availability of fresh water supplies for industry and real estate growth. The existing allocation systems will be changed some way to make trapped water available for new uses. We are in the midst of a brand new revolution in this province where water licenses, for the first time in the history of this province, will be able to be traded. There's trading going on water licenses today. But we are moving into an environment where water will begin to have an economic value, and water licenses will be traded here, and this is a brand new situation here for our province. I think we're going to see significantly increased legal and lobby activities from many of the ENCOs, especially around the oil sands, and for the most part, I think if it wasn't for the efforts of some of these ENCOs, we wouldn't be seeing some of the movements that we have from some of the industry players today. So I think there's a role for everybody to play in the water market, and I see the actions of some of these people actually helping to champion some change that wouldn't have occurred otherwise. Government oversight will increase, and I think no matter what, there will always be a role for government oversight in terms of how the water markets and water management will be done here in the province. And it's really going to be the local people that are going to have to make local trade-offs about how water is going to be managed in their community. I've got just a couple of more minutes, I think.
Yeah, you've got the 5 on just now.
Good. Okay, 5 minutes left. I got 5 minutes for my sales pitch. So here's my sales pitch for everybody today. One of the things that we believe in is actually trying to make more water data information available to every single Albertan. And part of a project that we're involved with is something called the Alberta Water Portal Project. You can find it at albertawater.com. All of the data, all of the information on this portal is free, accessible. We actually are in the process now of beginning to engage and work with several of the key stakeholders in the province to begin to make water data and information more accessible to people, because this happens to be one of the biggest challenges we have, is making it easy for people to get a hold of the information that they need to make right decisions about water. So we're building a place where anybody can get onto the internet and begin to find some of the information that they need about water. One of the biggest supporters of our work is the Alberta Water Research Institute. I want to recognize their contribution, and there are two other groups that I clearly want to recognize today. And one of them involves a project that we're doing right now. And this is a project that we're doing with the Bow River Basin Council, who in fact has the vision and has the insight to come up with what I think is one of the most innovative tools that's going to be launched here in southern Alberta to help us really understand how water is being managed and how the state of our water basin actually is doing. And what we are building for people is in fact an interactive map that will be up on the website. And across this map, what we are going to do is we're going to provide icons and indicators across each subbasin. These icons and indicators are going to be reflective of various indicators for water quality, water quantity, environmental conditions. And every one of these indicators are going to be linked back to as much real-time data and information as we can get our hands on. And these icons and indicators are going to be color-coded: green, yellow, and red, to give people a sense about the health of that specific icon. How's it doing? So we've got a fish icon up there that's currently green. So in fact, people will actually be able to click on an icon and get another window of information that will tell them about the health of the fish within this particular subbasin. There'll be other links that people can drill down into to get more and more information, not only on fish, but on water quality, water quantity, on oxygen levels, on all kinds of indicators, all built up onto the web, all interactive, all linked to as much real-time data as we can get our hands on. The idea is eventually what we can do is provide people a bit of a subway map from one end of the water basin to the next. And visually, people can get a sense, green to red. As you move across the basin, you can look at the icons and get a sense of where the trouble spots are, and get a sense whether or not things are generally red or green. The example I'm showing you, and I picked this consciously today, happens to come from South Africa. And this is the model that we actually took a look at and decided to adopt here in Alberta. So this is what I think World Water Day is all about. It's learning what others are doing globally and bringing those lessons here so that we can take advantage of them and start to make a difference about water here in our own province. Thank you very much.